Guns off, as are the runners. And this great first kind of 600-meter start down the hill as they take off, and it's a great scene.
Yeah, when you are in this pack right here in the very beginning, you only hear footsteps, you only hear your thoughts. It is just an amazing time in the race where it's like, oh, I can breathe, the gun's gone off, but it's also a mad rush to get to your spot. And it is so fun. But, you know, this is one spot where we really see all the athletes together. They want to make sure they're close to their teammates. You know, we've talked about a lot of guys, but Cooper Tier right in the front there, leading the pack.
And I'm going to give a nod to Cooper Tier because he said a great thing yesterday as you look at this pack, and he said it's one of the most coveted championships because in that pack are 800-meter runners. There are steeplechasers, there's 5K runners, there's 10K runners. So this isn't like the NCAA track championships where 15 different guys will win a championship. Like if you win this, you're the only guy that's going to win the championship, and you win it over a wide range of runners that are in this field. And I thought that was a fantastic point he made. And so nod to him for really putting this in great context of how important this is and how quality of field that you race against there. And I tell you what, major players out there right in front. Cooper with his Oregon Duck. Oh, the gloves belong to against Wesley Kipto. You saw Connor Mantz up there in his orange ECIE Rodriguez as well. And they make that first bend and go into that great canopy of trees and a wonderful drone shot that we see there, and they will bust through that first mile, which honestly I think is going to be sub 4:20, and guys are going to hurt from it. They'll be curious to see what it is. So
I think what's been interesting this year is we've seen Kipto, he's had to sort of figure out how to race differently. On the track last year, it didn't quite work for him to go out as hard as he possibly can and try to hang on. You know, you have athletes like a Mantz right next to him who's sort of figuring out how to reel him in, how to beat him. And, you know, also Adrian Viltz, you know, we've been saying it all different ways. He actually told us how to say his name yesterday.
Vildscoot. Jonathan Davis from Illinois up there.
And so did Kipto. He actually said it's Kipto. So, you know, there's a lot of great names out there, but we're trying to get it right because that's what the athletes have said. But yeah, up front here.
And then as you see in there, unmistakable with the Fighting Irish, a very big group of them again in their green. Their coach, of course, Sean Carlson. Listen, he's like everybody else. He really likes his team and he really loves his chances.
Yeah, he talks a lot about, he uses boxing analogies.
I mean, if you ask our guys, they definitely think they're going there to compete to win. You know, I think we're as good of a team as we were a year ago, probably better. You know, what that means in relation to the rest of the country, I don't know. But in terms of where we're at, I think we're better than we were a year ago. You know, coming off of conference where we scored 32 points and regionals where we scored 37 points and we were just running together. Yeah, I think the boys are pretty confident.
A lot of these teams, the higher echelon teams, were able to run together like that at the regional meet. They figured they're going to be in the top two, and even if they ran third like BYU, you know you're going to come through in some of these spots. And so much of that is managing your effort, because 2 10Ks over 8 days, if you give full exertion, is really kind of hard. But all those top teams were able to go through. And Carlson said, you know, at 9K, I looked over, there were my guys, I had them 6 wide, and they were chatting about the football game. So I feel like they come in here very fresh and very deep.
Yeah, they didn't push too hard at regionals, but one of the things that we talked with Coach Carlson a lot about is, he said he keeps talking about keep taking the punches, keep being able to handle the surges, the fast pace, and, you know, right now, all 7 of them are in the top 30.
Yep, they're off to a good start here through the first 1170 as they approach the 2K mark, and we'll be able to kind of reset the field from where they are. But early going, Notre Dame, Arkansas, Oklahoma State, BYU, listen, all the players are there that we expected to be there right now, and we've still got a thin this thing out, and they go through. I said they'd go through sub 420 the first mile. They go through in 422. So, and there are a lot of guys that can handle 422, and they'll just be fine.
Yep.
There's guys that just behind maybe went 423, 424, that at 8K they are going to regret that they went through at that speed.
Yeah, you know, I think this is nice, the way to go through in 422. They are not in such oxygen debt that we're going to see major carnage. I will see some carnage, but I think up front, it's going to be more of a tactical race.
But you saw with that speed kind of brings more people in it last year. I keep saying last year. In March at Oklahoma State, those hills were there. People were kind of fearful of that. Now, I don't want to say people don't respect Ford, but they're not as fearful of that. There is that wall, but it's not some of the killer hills that they had out there in Stillwater. And so I think that lead pack last year where Wesley went way out and we just had Mantz and Vildscoot that tried to catch him. I think this could be a group of 8, 10, even 12 guys that are up there deep into this race, in which case then it's going to be a lot of guys having to run maybe faster than they want to hang on and get to the finish in terms of the team. Again, you see through the back side of this loop as they go up those crushed shells, but still very wide, a lot of racing room for those guys.
Yeah, you can see a lot of athletes looking around there, checking it out. You know, this is such an individual sport at times, but today it is not just about how you do for a lot of these athletes. It is about the team. And as we're seeing right now, Notre Dame is up on top of Northern Arizona. You know, Northern Arizona, we've said it already, but 5 of the 6 they've won, and they have such a strong mentality there. You know, they're coming back with a different mentality of trying to defend. But they're also not necessarily thinking like this is their race to win. I mean, you know, Coach Smith already said that. He said, you know, we came in with a different mentality this year. The energy of being defending champions is great, but they're just as hungry as ever.
They run right now, Notre Dame 9 through 28 is their scoring 5, but 6 and 7 are back in 31st and 30. So they're all, again, as we said, the separation between 1 and 7 in that group is so tight that's where I think they've got a chance to really beat people down.
They're starting to climb that first of 4 hills, the big hill, the wall, as we call it. And you can see it, all the athletes leaning into it, driving hard. They're going to see a lot of people after they get up out of the hill, and that'll be fun for them. They'll be able to hear the crowd. They're still attentive to what's going on. You know, they're not so far into oxygen that they can't think and see everyone that's around there cheering for them.
So Wesley Kiptoo right there is out in front, but you know, usually I don't know that he hasn't gone out extremely fast. I just know that there are guys that have decided they want to stay with him.
I think he looks like he is trying to be a little bit more patient. We've seen that this year. We've seen him get stuck in the beginning of races where he's behind a group and then he just takes off, and he, you know, clearly is the class of the field. But in this one, I think he knows he has to respect the people around him. He's been beaten by Connor Mantz this year. You know, at Griak, we saw that. And so, you know, there's just a different, I don't know, different confidence maybe.
Thanos Kyoko of Campbell is out there in front as he's leading that group through 3K. Take a look at the past Cyclone champions here. I mean, they have such a wonderful tradition of runners dating, my goodness, way back. Bill Bergen was a fabulous coach there in Ames for a long time, and Wesley Kiptoo wouldn't mind being on that list. Listen, nobody wouldn't want to be on that list, whether you have that tradition or not, but they fantastic, and he's run so many of them, and it would be for him, I think, to, you know, kind of crowning achievement for so many of the other things he's done, and that, you know, last year was kind of lacking. Of course, last year, remember, he came in 2 days off of running a terrific 5K race and winning the national championship over in Fayetteville.
Yep. So
he comes in a little fresher too, as you see them coming by they're coming by, you can't see us, by our broadcast booth just for the 2nd time, and that is quite the group in there that's still ready to be in the fight for sure.
Yeah, Charles Hicks up there pushing the pace. He's had a really good year too, very solid, always right in the hunt at all of his races. Lalo there from Colorado.
Mantz looks tired from the first 800 meters.
Oh, he's not tired.
No, he's not, but he looks gritty and looks like he's ready to go. So they go through the 2-mile mark at 8:55. So that's a sub 28 pace. So I don't know that we can keep that up, but my goodness, that is, we said it's flat and fast for the most part, and those guys are living up to it. They're not afraid right now, that's for sure.
One thing that Connor Mantz said in the interviews that we were doing with him beforehand was that he likes weather elements. He likes really hard courses. So he actually said this course wasn't one that was maybe real suited for him. He knows he can run well on it. He knows he can win on it. But he said he likes the mud, the snow, the grit, the hills. And so it was interesting for him to say that this actually maybe isn't the perfect course for him.
It's the first time ever cross-country runners have had to talk about overcoming nice conditions. Right? The regional that was held in Iowa, up in Iowa City, that Iowa State got through and Oklahoma State through, was cold and kind of snowy and rainy, and yeah, it's just these nice conditions. I mean, how do we dare control ourselves when it's up to about 60 degrees and light winds and sunny out? So you see NAU there, they've got men up there in the top. How's the back end, as they had to replace 2 in the top 10. Luis Grijalva, who ran so well, young man, ran for Guatemala in the Olympics, had a great finish in the Olympic final. He went to Tokyo, represented the folks in Flagstaff so well. He's still up there running around. As they go through 4K, which is, 4K is kind of a funny distance. Most people don't. Easier to check at 5K. Everybody remembers 5K because everybody's going to go out and run their turkey trot tomorrow or this morning at 5K. So that's a much more familiar time. But as they start to shake things out, Northern Arizona's group has put themselves in position. Notre Dame behind. Colorado, as we said, they'll be right there. They keep talking that the coaches have said, and I think you mentioned it very early in the broadcast, 90 points to win the meet, which I think is true, but it's amazing to me how fast you can get to 90.
Yeah. Well, we're seeing that even right now. Notre Dame is kind of flopping around a little bit. Russo is now faded back to around 44th, I believe. He was up there in the pack. He was in 5th place at one time, and now we're seeing NAU's guys moving up. So it is interesting to see, and I know that Coach Smith from NAU said, you know what, we need to work hard in the latter part of the race. So he was trying to keep those athletes sure that they can have that patience and be confident enough to do it. Bosley's in the lead right now for NAU.
And that's part of it, right? You go through and you run 8K and you run 8K, and then suddenly for the NCAA, the regionals, and this one, we go to 10K, and a lot can happen there for those guys.
Well, and that's not forget to mention that NAU's coming from altitude. So for them, the longer they go, that's where you get that boost from being at altitude. You can hang on to it a little bit longer maybe. So, use that strength. Don't blow it early on.
So that lead pack is Mantz, it's Kipto, it's Phil Scoot, it's Kyoko from Campbell, Gilbert Boyd of the Hogs is up there, Bosley, you mentioned Charlie Hicks from Stanford. Stanford's a young team there with J.J. Clark, got a lot of good runners. Abdi Hamid Noor, Eduardo Herrera, we haven't talked about, he's kind of the lead buffalo, as he goes, they go. Clara, who is Notre Dame's top man a year ago, is right there. Nico Young, ECI Rodriguez. I mean, you keep going. That pack is 20 guys deep. Casey Klinger, BYU's second man, and Mantz's kind of running buddy. That's still a big group fighting it out here as we come close to the midway point of the race.
Yeah, there's still 32 guys within 5 seconds.
Just on that backside, you can see as you look, not just the runners, but you can see the coaches and the personnel and the other runners and teammates are down there. That's not really a quiet little trail. It would be tomorrow morning, but it's not right now.
No, there's a lot of people here that are so thankful to be back cheering, and they were trying to figure out where to go, and they just decided to make a coach and spectator loop, make it easy on them.
Go through there, saw the other Oregon Siglet, Andrew Beinenfeld, who transferred to Oregon this year after being at Cincinnati for most of his eligibility, so he's the guy that's out there doing workouts with Cooper Tier. So, you know, Cole Hocker's still around, the great miler, great 1,500-meter runner there for the University of Oregon. He left school after just 1 year, but now Cooper's got a guy to run with.
Yeah, Bidenfeld is a great athlete, 13:30, 5K roughly, you know, but he came in, and I think Tier's really enjoyed racing with him. They've been working really hard together, but Cooper Tier showed a bit of confidence. And I was, you know, I'm not surprised to see him say he can run a 10K. Look at the 5K PR that he has. But he was really excited about running 10K today.
And he's missed it. The last year he did not run in this race. He chose to run indoor track and stayed away from this. So as we hit through 5K and that midway point, let's check in with Bill Spalding for his observations. Bill?
Well, John and Kerry, the easiest way to think about this right now is a two-pack race. So in that lead pack, where you got the top 25 guys, right now Northern Arizona's worked itself into the lead because they have 4 positioned in that lead pack. You have the 2-time Big Sky Conference champion Drew Bosley, who's running a great race. Abdelhamid Noor, Nico Young, and George Cush all in that lead pack. Meanwhile, Notre Dame sitting there in second, really only has 2 in that lead pack. Danny Kilree leading the way for the Fighting Irish. But then you think about the second pack, and that's where the team race is really going to be won. And Theo Quox is putting on an exhibition on how to come back from a slow start. He has gained about 30 places over the last 3 kilometers to move himself up into 38th overall as the 5th runner for Northern Arizona. They also have Brody Hasty in that pack, adding some extra insurance. Hasty currently in 53rd place. Meanwhile, for Notre Dame, they've seen their depth runners start to fall back. Aaron Naguse, he's more of a 1,500-meter guy, of course, qualified for the Olympics over 1,500, and he has lost about 20 places over the last 3K. Matthew Carmody in 41st place as the Irish is 5th. They're 6th. Anthony Russo back in 82nd. So right now, there is still a race to be won in that second pack, but Northern Arizona has a little bit more wiggle room. You'd feel a whole lot better if you're Michael Smith right now, I think, seeing how the rest of this race is going to play out.
As we said, they had to replace 2 top 10 runners here, but if you look at the scoring last year when they got to 60, they had quite a cushion. So if you can come in and those guys can hold that spot 23, 24, and 33 or 34-ish, then you put yourself certainly back in contention and make yourself again the team to beat as they come by down that downhill once again. This time they'll turn and go through the shorter loop. A couple of hog jerseys that he's come through. Cooper Tier is there as well, but he's back just a bit from maybe that full pack as they start to thin a little bit. Wesley Kepto is right there, and so is Vildskud. So, and this is one of those where sometimes, you know, you jog for 5K, 6K, and then you race. I feel like they've been racing the whole time, and just as we discussed with the ladies, the men, this is a hard sport, and it can hurt for them too. And how do you talk yourself through it?
So when things get tough, you just have to think a lot, you know. Like cross country, we're running as a team. So when things get hard and you think about your teammates.
You go into this wanting to have literally nothing at the end. If I'm falling across that finish line, I know I've done something right. And far too often I find myself having a little bit too much left in the tank, and I think that's something I want to make sure I don't regret.
You just think about your family, all your parents, all the sacrifices they made. It's like, and all your sacrifice you made too, like everything you went through, and it's like, man, like, you know, like I put in more work than anybody. It's like you sacrifice so much. It's like you can't give up on yourself. You can't stop now. Like it's like you invested way too much now. So it's like you have to keep going, because it's not, everything else would be in vain almost.
The Isai Rodriguez chain was magnificent yesterday. He got it from one of his wrestling buddies. As you know, there's no better wrestling school than Oklahoma State. And so he's got a guy on the team that is his buddy, his brother, and he's like, dude, wear the bling, look good.
Fun to talk with him yesterday. He's a great guy.
Didn't have a high school team. He just ran everywhere. He said, you know, 8-man football. We had basketball. No track team, no cross country team. Which is odd, because usually that's the team you do have, right? That's the easiest. Here's some shoes and a cigarette, go. Everything else is much more expensive. As you take a look there at the canopy of trees. It's the only one that it's outdoor some, and then we got a roof over part of it as well, it looks like.
Well, we're seeing the big names now start to push a little bit. You could see Kipto was getting a little antsy, and this is right where we're watching him. Like, he's back there in the woods, you know, coming up on 7K, and they're moving.
So they go through 6,000, which was the women's distance, in 17:42, which is awfully quick.
Flying.
As they go through. Yeah, they're not, they have, and I think some of it is, you know, we talk the course is fat and flat and they got to go some. But there's enough guys running fast, you can't afford to run slow. I know coaches love to preach patience, but I don't know that there's a lot of room for that here, especially if you're going to contend. Take a look at the peloton back there, and listen, a lot of those people, you know, if you're that 4th and 5th guy in your team, any one of those number of guys that you can pick off is a really big deal. And so early on, Northern Arizona, as they came through 7K, 84 points. Arkansas's first 3 have run through and done really a nice job. Amon Kemboy, Gilbert Boyd, Emmanuel Chabosin, but Andrew Cabet and Miles Richter at the back end of that, not quite what I think they were hoping they would be. And if they can get a move on, they might move up, but they're going to have to move harder from position 4 and position 5. Connor Mantz, Wesley Kiptoo, right there. Alec Bastian, you got a gopher up there, is making, has had a nice run through.
Big Ten this year.
Nice run through 7K. Just that's one thing too. If you win this championship, we talked about going over the distance. This is just a really good field of guys. There's, you know, when there are 10 guys or 12 guys that can win a race, then that's a mark to be proud of. That you beat some dogs to get through this thing.
Well, they're coming up on 1 lap to go, and this is where things are really starting to change. You know, people start thinking of get into track mind a little bit with 1K to go. It seems like when you have 1 big lap to go, they're just getting ready, and you can see people are starting to chomp at the bit a little bit.
There's Mantz, just as agonizing as ever. But that's his key, right? And not that he looks up, but he is a guy that can and almost looks forward to the suffering. He's like, I can go longer than anybody else when it really starts to hurt. Bill loves to talk about the Mantz zone. Yeah. And that's kind of where they are. And as you see, he's been right there. Nobody's gotten away from him. And
you know, I think
our man with the gloves, Kiptoo, is right. It doesn't matter that it's 60 degrees. Sometimes it's for some guys, it's always glove weather. I
mean, when you look at Kiptoo, when you've seen him run before, he has almost a different pressure on, or he's pressing the pace. And right now, I think he is really thinking about his moves and what he's got to do to beat these guys. He's run so many of them so close this year that he has to make sure that he has something for that final kick. You know, when we were talking to Adrian Wildskut, he said, I need to have something in that last 50 to 100 meters because that's where Connor Mantz got him when he last raced him here.
3 hogs come by. Harvard athlete as well. Good to see the Ivy League represented. They've got 2. That's Graham Blanks. Harvard is here. Princeton's got a nice team. They think that maybe can be anywhere between 12 and 20 as they go by our broadcast position for the very last time. And it does become, boy, as we hit the 8K mark now, who can close, right? And it's all come down to this. You've got yourself positioned. Who can close?
Let's keep our eye on Kyoko there, though, in the orange. You know, he's been he's pressed a couple times in this race, but now he's settling in to just sort of following Mantz and Kipto. And he is a 13-12 guy. He is a really fast runner. He was 3rd at the NCAAs, but he also won his region by 20 seconds. So he's used to winning. He wants the win. And I like where he's at right now. He's watching what the top 3 from last year did, and he's maybe the one that's just sizing up his next move.
So that's a look at the lead pack, and as we say, so most of the race, the championship race, is going to be behind there, and that's where Bill Spalding's been keeping his eye on. So we go back to Bill's house and see what he's got to say in terms of putting this together.
Keep an eye here on Northern Arizona. That spread is 36 seconds. This race really has broken up. But The big thing was, how are they going to replace Luis Grijalva and Blaze Farrow, 2 top 10 guys? So far, they've done that pretty admirably with Drew Bosley up into 13th place, George Cush still running strong in the top 30, and Theo Quox holding on to that comfortable top 50 finish. If NAU finishes like this, they will easily move on to the championship once again. Iowa State's putting together a really nice run today for their head coach, Jeremy Sudbury. He said he likes his team's makeup. He called them Iowa Farm Tough. And in terms of points, all 5 Iowa runners into the top 50 in points. Arkansas would be the #2 team if it was only a top 3 race. The issue is they don't have a 4 or a 5 that has gotten into the top 50 yet today. Andrew Pivette back in 68th, Miles Richter in 131. And I think we have to talk about Notre Dame once again, one of the favorites coming in, but they're all the way back into 8th place right now. You know, we talked about the Irish's spread last year and how they ran as 1 pack of 5. Look at that number on the top today. There is a 67-second spread for the Fighting Irish from 1st to 5th today, as Josh Methner and Yared Naguse have kind of gone backwards as Dylan Jacobs has held that top spot. So it has not gone the way Notre Dame was hoping today. They have not kept that tight pack together.
So often is in this, it is, you know, 4th and 5th place runners are deciding it. It's sexy up front, but it's one there with the grinders in the back as they approach now 9K, and this is where things, if it's going to change, it's going to have to be here. Well, obviously, because you only got K, but this is where some people have been waiting, that this is where they're going to go ahead and try to hammer that last K. So if you've got it, you got to start spending it.
Well, this is where I'm thinking about track analogies a lot of times. And when you have a K to go in cross country, it's like the last 400 meters, right? I mean, a lot of times people are really getting ready to make that final move like you do on the track with a lap to go. These guys have to climb that final hill. They're on it right now. And then they make that final turn with 500 meters to go. And it is all out as hard as you can possibly go down that hill.
And I don't want to get into Bill's area, but as you add up these team scores, right? Currently with Athanas Kyoko leading, he'd be first, but in the team score, Mantz, even in second, is only a 1-point guy when he comes through. So there's something to be said. If every point counts, you save one. Mantz comes across, he would not be 2 in terms of the points, he'd just be 1.
Well, Mantz is trying to make a little bit of separation here, but Kipto's hanging on, and so is Kyoko.
Yep. If Mantz could come through, these are guys that have won this title more than once. King Ches, who won it 3 times running, and then a senior year came home 5th. But Mantz and Kipto, they have fought so many times, and Mantz has told us that he told Kipto after that he thought his style of racing has made NCAA cross country better because he goes out there and he's forced so many guys to run hard and run better.
Woo, Dougie, here they come. I get so excited.
Yeah, here comes Kyoko. He's decided to lay down the hammer.
Now this is where Mantz decided to really make his final push when we get by this big tree. So they have still about 200 meters before they get to that final push for him. But can he hold on to Kyoko? I don't know.
He's drafting right there. Athanas Kyoko from Campbell. The Campbell right there, the Campbell Camel. And here comes Mantz, who's got a little bit more, and he's going to let him go. That's where Kyoko's going to shut it down, and now does he get to fight with Kipto, or he hang on that. But Connor Mantz, he'll be cresting the hill. We'll see him momentarily, but that guy is dug in, and he is going to be back-to-back for the first time since King Ches.
You don't ever say anything about him on air, because then he hears you.
He is
and
just
he heard us.
so, I mean, he's tougher than a boot.
He is as tough as nails as you get, and look at him go.
And the same thing, just as he did last year, he's got room to look and come through. Connor Mantz, 28:33 that is a smashing time.
2 NCAA cross-country championships in a year.
Kipto across the line second. Kyoko, a brilliant race in third. From Stanford, our man Charlie Hicks is coming through. Beatles come from Spartius to Wildscoot, and NAU puts its first person across, and now do they have more running hard to the line? Yes, Nico Young comes across.
2 BYU guys coming across.
And so Northern Arizona looks to be in a comfortable spot.
Bosley's making his way.
The first hog comes across. Amon Kemboy, the Hogs are going to finish with 3 really good runners, and 4 and 5 are not going to quite get it done. Isai Rodriguez probably going to be disappointed when he comes through fighting for 20th. 2 more Oklahoma State Cowboys are through. But I think NAU right there is going to seal it as they come through. That is a magnificent run. If it's everybody whose 4th and 5th runners can seize the day, can put up their best race when they needed their best race, Michael Smith's team has come through with flying colors, and it looks like NAU is going to have themselves more championship jewelry. You saw the, I don't know what the next one's going to look like, but it is good. It can be just as brilliant. Northern Arizona comes through, and just the wave of runners, and they come through so quickly. Iowa State with a terrific run. They're going to finish ahead of Oklahoma State finally. Oklahoma State, remember, it got him in the Big 12 conference meet was pretty much a dual meet. The top 10 was 5 from Iowa State and 5 from Oklahoma State. And Sudbury's team this time comes through it really with an outstanding performance. They're going to be the runner-up, 139. Arkansas, which came in ranked 9th and ran really well, and just 4 and 5, who they hope to get into the top 50 and really in the top 40, just didn't have it as they came through. But going through in 103rd place is just not going to be enough with your 5th guy. That's where we talked about, you know, if you get to 90, and 90 adds up really quickly.
Well, talking about your 5th guy, NAU's Brody Hasty, 5th time, or 2nd time in a row for him to be 5th runner there, moving up 13 spots in the final K, and he finished in 39th. Pretty amazing. Shout out to him.
Yep, so if you go through the NAU guys, Abdi Hamid Noor 7th, Nico Young is 8th, Drew Bosley comes 12th. George Kush, the transfer and Big 10 champ from Nebraska, his best race of the season by far. He comes through at 30, then there's Brody Hasty at 41, and it's not quite the gaudy 60 points that they had a year ago, but 87. 90 will win the meet, so will 87. Iowa State in 2nd place, the runner-up. Arkansas, Oklahoma State, the 4th podium spot. And then BYU in 5th, despite all the efforts of Mantz again behind him. They're just not quite enough. And fighting here is Cooper Tier. And Cooper Tier told us, I will leave everything, whether I die and hit the wall at 8K or 9K. Came back to run this race. Didn't run in the last championship. Folks, that is a national champion at 5K.
Miler.
The collegiate indoor mile record holder, 350 in bits for him.
And he just shook the medics off. He said, I'm going to get there. Let him get there.
Oh. Again, so painful to watch. As we said, such an accomplished runner. You saw where he had been. And at the halfway point, 20th, that was the pack. 680, he was very much in these things. And he is gonna get across, but my goodness.
He's a class act of a guy. He's one heck of an athlete. And look at that heart.
Other athletes just coming through, and there's Cooper Tier.
It's tough to see, but it's so inspirational.
Exhausted,
and all of his
really
guys are looking
up
at him there.
So helpless, and yet they continue to fight through. We're going to take a break, and I'll let them tell you. Who's the champ? Sounds like it's NAU. Individual champ again, BYU. Guess what? Nothing changed in 7 months. Congratulations. Last year you had to fight your way back. This one, it seemed that you were in control of your position the whole way. Take us through it.
Yeah, so the race started out, and I knew it was going to be quick. This was probably the best start I've ever gotten in a cross-country race. So in the first couple 100 meters, I was out front, and I knew, okay, as long as I stay in this general area, I think, and if the race is fast, things will work out. And so I just tried to stay in that area. I got pushed around a bunch. It was really crowded up there. So there were sometimes the race, somebody would surge to the front and then slow it down, and I didn't like that. So a few times I took the lead to kind of jumpstart the pace back up. At the end, I could tell it was just, well, I thought it was just Kip 2 and Wild Scoot and me at the end, but then Kyoko around just right around 9K came up and passed us all. So I knew if I just went with him, I could keep fighting, and then he slowed it back down, and so I was like, all right, I got to take the lead. Got to get as far away from everybody else as I can. Up the hill, just tried to stay composed. As soon as I crested the hill, I thought it was Kip 2 who was passing me, but it was actually Kyoko, and he made a hard surge, and I knew if I stayed with him, I might be able to get him in the last 100 meters. He slowed down, and I knew, okay, if he's slowing down, this is my time to go, or Kip 2's going to come and pass us both. Kip 2's such a great athlete, as well as Kyoko, as well as Wild Scoot. And so I knew I can't let the race slow down at all for anybody that in that group to come back and catch me. So as soon as he slowed down, I made a really hard surge, and I just kind of enjoyed the last 100 meters down the hill.
Enjoyed the last 100 meters. I love it. You look like it too. You know, you are the only person to win 2 NCAA cross-country meets in 1 year. So 2 national championships in 1 year. What does that feel like?
It's kind of fun. I mean, COVID definitely put last year's on hold, so it was kind of fun to, I don't know, come back and compete again on the grass at a national championship. And so it's kind of interesting. I don't know, that's all I have with that. It's kind of interesting.
At any point, though, when you're running fast and you're talking about controlling the pace, you think, wait, I'm the national champion, and I'd like to still be the national championship. That you are like, this is my crown, and you can't have it.
Yeah, I mean, I went into this goal knowing that, you know, maybe one of these guys is going to beat me today, maybe 2 of them, maybe 4 of them. But I just know I need to work on the process, you know, put myself in contention, and then if things work out and I'm able to get the crown, it's going to be okay. If not, if I go in there and I give it my all and I don't win, as long as I give it my all, I'm going to be perfectly content with the race. And so I just try to remember that before the race, during the race, and just try to keep focused on my team as well and see, you know, I need to do as well as I can to see how well they can do. So
I'll give you a quick pop quiz.
That's what I had.
I'll give you a quick pop quiz. So you've won twice. How many did Ed Eyestone win?
Ed Eyestone won 1, but he's coached. This is the third individual title he's coached on the grass.
That's all right.
So I guess Coach Eystone's won 4 then.
He won 1. I have it. Him 1 and you 2. Congratulations, especially what comes next. I have a feeling we probably won't see you in the track.
No.
But congratulations on that one. We'll let you go take care of business because that's what you got next. And as you see, it finally shakes out. We had some last-minute moving and shaking. It's Northern Arizona. It is Iowa State, followed by Oklahoma State, and then Arkansas for the second time in 4 months are on the podium, and they are in 4th position. There's your winning team right there. They all look happy. They all look healthy. In fact, Kerry, why don't you cheer them up? Give them a trophy. Kerry's down there. Go ahead. So we'll have that, and now we'll try to get Coach up there to the microphone. If somebody, all right, we know, good. They know the cheer. All right, so listen, we can have Coach come up there and talk. You can elect a representative. Yeah, let's have the boss get up there. Michael, if you would, work your way to the microphone. So it's funny, you come in, you're top ranked, and yet I'm not sure everybody thought you were the favorite. But here we are, just like it was 7 months ago. Mantz wins and you win. If you would, go ahead, just brag up your team, because this was 4 and 5 came through when you had to replace 2 really, really good guys.
Yeah, we don't pay attention to what other people say. We just make sure that we know what the real thing is inside. Lots of people, lots of predictions ahead of time. The real thing happens in Flagstaff. The real thing happens between our group right here. They know what to do. They're the best at what they do. I think their performance speaks for themselves today.
What's the magic in there then?
They understand how to execute within a range of outcomes, and they also know what can't save them.
Hey, Coach, we were talking about all the rings you guys have. You have another new ring. You got married this year. You have two national championships this year. I mean, seriously, the vibe is so fun up there, and you guys have to be excited about today.
Yeah, it's an honor and privilege to be their coach. They teach me a lot as well. It's a joy every single day, outside of whether we win or not. It's a joy every single day.
So you put them on the line, and your job's literally done. Now I just have them watch. But your confidence level as you went through this race, did you feel as good at 1K as you do at 10? Like at any point where you're like, for sure we have it, or here's a turning point?
No, you never think you have it. Even when the results are in, the first thing I say to my assistant coach Jared Cornfield is this real? Until he confirms it, then I enjoy it. But no, I thought they slid into position perfectly. We actually didn't have the lead till maybe 3K or so. So they moved up off an already fast pace. They were 4:20 at the mile or something like that. So we don't need to be directly up front. We just have to have an eye on the positions we want to be in. They found their positions and they held them well. If you look at the team totals for point totals at the halfway mark, and you see where they finished, they held exactly where they needed to.
Yeah, you wouldn't tell us what jerseys you were wearing, but you said.
Show them the back of these.
Yeah,
Show them the back.
they basically said everyone was going to watch that.
Aspen Leaf.
Yay, well, congratulations, you guys. Way to go.
I don't see the target on your back, but I trust that it's there when it comes through. So, Northern Arizona University. Thank you, fellas. Congratulations. Don't drop that. Get in the overhead compartment and the 7 planes it'll take you to get back to Flagstaff.